All right, the time being 6 o'clock, I'll go ahead and bring this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Lowe's.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Winston.
Here.
Kettering.
Here.
Clemens.
Here. Any of the commissioners have a reason to abstain for a financial or non-financial conflict of interest?
No.
None.
Nothing on financial, no.
Did you have something, or?
That, with the Cottington County Code of Conduct, are you going to vote on that, or are we just going to talk about it?
I don't think we're going to vote on it. I think we're just gathering information
I
on
was just
it.
curious, because
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Joe, is your mic still not working? And then Don, is your mic working? Or? Like the sound system, it is on the agenda. We'll be talking about that. So, all right. Next item on the agenda: approval of the agenda. Anything to delete?
Yeah, I'd move approval, but could we move the highway department reports up on the agenda?
Highway Department. Which number?
I believe it's
8, 9, and 10.
9 and 10.
8. Do you want 8, 9, and 10, or just 8 and 10?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you want them moved up to?
If we could do it right away, our
Okay.
highway superintendent has a conflict that he'd like to.
Okay. We want to move them right after public comment?
Sure.
Would
that'd
that work?
be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll move 8 and 9 up to behind 6.
And 10.
Or, okay, 8, 9, and 10 is what we wanted moved?
Please.
8, 9, and 10 will move up, and, or we'll just move 7 down, I guess, either one. And then Mr. Schurslick wanted to briefly address the commission about what's going on with emergency management. So let's put that at after item number 10, so that would be 10A. So the order will go 6, 8, 9, 10, 10A, and then 7. Is everybody happy with that?
Perfect.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the
Don.
correction.
Don did made the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
A motion, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 5, approval of the minutes from November 15th, 2019. So we'll do the November 15th minutes first. Are there any additions or corrections to the November 15th minutes? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion pass. Next item is the November 19th, 2019 minutes. Are there any additions or corrections on those minutes? Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda, item number 6, public comment. You want to time? I want to look at a time tomorrow too, probably. We have 2 people, Mr. Phil Tao and Mr. Paige Herrick. Give you guys each 3 minutes. Welcome, sir, coming up. State your name for the record, and I'll give you 3 minutes.
Good evening, thank you. Paige Herrick, I live in rural Mission Hill. At the last county commission meeting, we had a gentleman tell you that Quality of Life showed a very slanderous movie. And by the time I realized somebody should comment on it, the public comment period was closed. I'd just like to say a couple things. First of all, the gentleman did not qualify his statement by naming the person or persons that were slandered in that film. He did not further qualify it by quoting the slanderous passages. And I think we all know in today's society, if there would have been anything bordering on slander, there would have been a lawsuit and the court would have decided. And had the court decided there was a lawsuit in that film, they probably would have made the distributors or producers stop showing it until the slander was edited out. Now, that was the film was shown at a public informational session open to anybody. It was not a quality of life meeting, as was stated in the newspaper. Furthermore, the film was only part of that session. The speaker didn't mention the second part of the session. Maybe that was convenient because he could leave out the part where the quality of life representative told the audience that no one should make up their mind based on that movie. He stated that people needed to do their own research and look at both sides of the issues before they made up their mind. And I'm not telling you what to think or how to make up your mind. But I'm thinking that maybe quality of life was more fair and more open-minded than the speaker was. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Welcome. I'm Phil Togg, live in Gayville. I'll try and keep this short. November 15th, you had a meeting. You just approved the minutes. It was about the moratorium and the temporary zoning controls. I was unable to be here. I was out of town, but so I watched the review of that or the video of that afterwards a few days later. And to say that I'm disappointed is an understatement. I'm actually quite appalled. I'm appalled at the legal advice you got. It was dumb. It was wrong. South Dakota Codified Law 11-2-10 is exactly why what needs to be put in place. Not because we don't have ordinances, but because our ordinance is being held hostage and being taken over or claimed to be invalid by one man who's influenced another few farmers to do the same in lawsuits currently pending with Mr. Schenk that he's filed in circuit court, okay, regarding the 3 barns and what he wants to build and the contingent building permits that he's put up in Mission Hill, okay? That temporary zoning controls, which are not an emergency measure, but it is an emergency here, we're under attack, quite frankly. And those temporary zoning controls are exactly what need to be put in place because they have claimed that nothing over the last 13 years matters. And we need to draw a stake in the land saying, this is what we have, we're gonna stop all this stuff, stop the insanity, and we're gonna figure out what the truth is and what was not posted, what was posted, and figure out where we are. That's what that is also for. It's been used across the state several times. And you shouldn't be afraid of being sued by somebody for something personal. This is not personal. This is county business, all right? And the next codified law, 11-2-11, is exactly what allows the opponents of that maneuver to just say with the circuit court, we disagree with the temporary zoning controls. It's all laid out. They can do exactly what they need if they disagree with your decision to do that. I'm very disappointed in this board. I'm disappointed in the legal advice you get. I know I'm not a lawyer, but I can talk to them, and I've talked to several. And it's been used across this state several times for different reasons. Not just because you don't have ordinances, but because you do have ordinances and it's out of control. And somebody just declared 13 years of our stuff gone. It's bad enough it wasn't posted properly on the internet for God knows how long. Now that it finally is, the very people that were in charge of it when it wasn't posted correctly are now claiming we didn't do it right. Well, shame on you. Why didn't you say something 2 years ago? Why didn't you say something 5 years ago? Why didn't you fix this problem when you were in charge of this county for the last 8 years? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, item number 8. Approve True North Steel Bridge with Turner County. Mr. Sedlacek, welcome.
Good evening. I guess what I'm after there is I have the bid from Turner County for True North Steel Bridges. In their bid, they state bid price shall be FOB, supplier dock, freight at job site shall be arranged and prepaid by supplier upon order.
Microphone,
But,
is it on?
It's on. I turned it on.
okay. Anyways, ours does not state that, the one that I had you guys approve back in February. I guess we have a bridge on the ground at True North Steel, and I'd like to pay for it. And that's about the only way I could do that and not get in trouble with the legislative audit.
All right, so basically, we're just using
We're
the
using Turner County.
Turney
for bid.
Counter, and they've already bid that out. You don't see any issue
Yep.
with that, Patty? Okay.
They've already advertised and everything. and-
Yep, and I have all that.
So the only difference between our bid is basically it can stay with True North, and then we don't have to store it.
Right, like our
Okay.
bid, the way our bid is, we can't pay for it, we cannot pay for it sitting up there. It has to
Okay.
be delivered to the county.
Okay. That sounds simple enough, so. Did you have anything else? I'll open it up to public comment. Quick, see if anybody care from the public care to speak on this topic, either for or against? All right, seeing or hearing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Did you have anything else you wanted to go over on this?
On that-
Any questions from anyone on the board? It seems pretty straightforward to me. so.
Just in the future, I'm gonna probably list that on my bids. in
Yeah,
the future.
okay. Give that as the option on future bids. What's nice that it's not taking up area at the shop if we're not gonna be putting it in for a while, so, especially
Right,
with all the
and nothing-
damage that we've got.
Nothing can get, no iron can get used for anything else because we don't have it.
Okay. Any other questions from the board for Mr.
It says
Sadlowski?
on page 5 that the prices are good for a year, so if you need something else. these-
Well, that's good for 2019.
Oh, 2019, not
Yep.
2020.
Right, so in 2020, like next month, I'll get all of my bid stuff in order again to put out for bids for 2020.
You don't have any prices set for 2020 then?
Not right now, no.
Any other questions from the board? Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Kettering,
Yes.
Los,
Yes.
Swenson,
No.
Healy,
Yes.
Clemish.
Yes. Motion pass. Next item on the agenda, item number 9, Jamesville Bridge repair update. Tell us some good news, Mr. Sadlowski.
We do have good news, between, I don't know, a couple of you commissioners spoke with Tammy Williams at that 8-county meeting. That helped, and, come to find out, they will, the Jamesville Bridge is eligible now for, talking to Tammy Williams today on that, and she said that the decision was just made too quickly. And getting her involved was the right thing.
I think it also shows the importance of our 8-county meetings that we have, and for, the commissioners who showed up, to attend that, and the individuals you meet, as we got to sit face-to-face with somebody from DOT and explain our side. And I think this is a case where it really made a difference for the good of Yankton County, so it was a good thing. It was what, 200, at least 200,000?
Well, that's
Do we
what-
have a dollar amount yet?
The bid was for right at 200.
Okay.
The dollar amount that they come up with, which is not a set in stone dollar amount, but it was 214, I believe, 214,000. And she said that, that is, if we do go over some, that is still good. They'll still pay for it.
Is that a 80-20 cost share?
No, that is 100%.
100%, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to thank Dan Clemish for challenging him for
No,
that,
it's-
because had he not done that,
Well, that's
We
what,
appreciate that.
I think that's what'll sometimes helps out, getting elected officials to,
It was a
Fight
good
about
joint
that.
effort by the entire team, got involved, the highway, all of us commissioners, and it just goes to show sometimes you gotta question and just not blindly
you know,
follow decisions sometimes, so. Now with that, I believe from what I heard, we have 180 days to repair that, is that correct?
for a 100% reimbursement.
Okay.
180 days from 9/26, I believe.
Do you think is that realistic? Do you think we can get that done?
I know like a month ago, Adam was talking that it could be done possibly in December, but now we're, I suppose weather permitting, we could possibly
Yeah,
still make it happen.
okay. If this 100% on the state, I say we get that done ASAP before they change their mind and,
And then after the 180 days, it's a 80-20 split.
And a lot of it depends on the weather.
Yep.
could we, is there any way, and, talking, Brown County just got 16 inches of snow, there's flooding on the river. I hate to do this, but maybe we should ask for, is there any extensions we can get with that, or is this,
That I could
okay.
talk with Tammy and,
The reason I'm concerned is that 180 days, it's winter.
right.
This
and-
spring, there's going to be likely flooding, if there's not flooding this winter.
Then also the winter with the cold temperatures and concrete, I assume they have ways to do it, but
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
yeah, all right. Keep us posted on that, what you find out. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Sidlachi? Good work on that.
Also
Appreciate it.
then, on the Jim River, well, on the Fleets Bridge, tomorrow we will be closing the road again at 9. I have it in the paper. I know we just discussed this today. It's short notice, but I put it on the county Facebook page and
Sure.
it will be in the paper tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Expect 7 till 5.
7 till 5
Yeah,
PM?
tomorrow,
Okay.
I told him since it's such short notice, if we could wait until at least 9 to let the
Okay.
rush come through.
Okay, that's good.
So
That's-
just for the audience and people at home, 9 o'clock tomorrow, Wednesday, Fleet Bridge is
Wednesday.
closed,
Yep.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday till 5 on Friday?
Yep, 7 to 5 Thursday, Friday, 9 till 5 Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. And that's what they're placing riprap for the erosion that happened
Right.
on that bridge, correct? Okay.
Yep, they, surprisingly, it's holding in there, what they put in there, it went better than I thought. I was
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, how deep the hole was,
Yeah. Do we know how deep that is?
Well, before he started, he's got that long reach excavator out there. I don't know if you guys been out there, but at first, the one area he could not reach the
Wow.
bottom, so it's,
Jeez.
I know we're a little bit at the mercy of, it's Polly that's doing it, right?
Pullman.
Or Pullman, I'm sorry. I know we're a little at the mercy, but I had quite a few requests at the last time if we could wait till like even 7:45 or 8 o'clock to get that traffic to work. Most people should be past that point if they're headed to work by 8 o'clock.
Well, and if you guys want, I guess we can,
You don't want your excavator to look like the one on Highway 50, on New Highway 50 a few years ago, remember that?
I guess,
It was buried, you could just see the cab.
No, we don't want
That was a state.
Yeah.
I just ask them or something, I don't know.
yeah, I'll talk to him and see if.
Well, I think at this point, that's a good idea, but, all the times have already been posted and, maybe that's a good thing for next time.
Amazed how many people still show up, and I was
Well,
out there one day. when-
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that. That just reiterates how important the bridge is. So. Anything else on that? Okay. Well, that's good news. All right, I guess we'll just move on to item 10 then. While you're here, I am the one who put this on the agenda, and I think this is something we've talked about and we never really made a decision on. The last inspection that we had of the Jamesville Bridge is Those photos that we had of the inspection are really one of the reasons the state changed their mind. If we look at the history of our bridges, last year at this time, Johnson Bridge was closed down, all the issues we've had with Stone Church Bridge, all the issues we have with Fleets Bridge, and now Jamesville, I feel that we need to move to annual inspections on all of these bridges. They're nearly 70 years old, living on borrowed time. This last incident with Jamesville, which was our best bridge, just makes me feel we need to do that. The state pays for, is it 70 or 80% of the cost?
80.
So it's an 80-20 split with the state. I guess I just feel that that's something we have to do. Could we imagine if we wouldn't have inspected that bridge, Jamesville Bridge, and would have opened it, what could have happened? It could have been a catastrophe. And so I guess that's my feelings. I don't know what the board feels.
I agree with you.
Okay.
That's a picture of the excavator. Can you see it?
Anything
Yeah, I
from you?
probably would have had to think a few
That's the
longer
Highway 50
about it,
bridge
but
down here.
Yeah.
yeah,
See, he
annual
just-
inspection, I mean,
I
that
can't remember what year it
basically
is,
just
but it
saved us
just brought it up.
$200,000.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 2012.
If we didn't have a,
And I would think if you did them every year, you'd get a little better price on them.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only concern, excuse me, the only concern Adam had was, I guess if you guys decide to do this, we'll shoot for it. The DOT, he doesn't know what the DOT would think about going to every year because the DOT pays for it, and it's normally a every other year deal. But since we have had issues, he's thinking that it might be okay, so.
Well, tell the DOT if they want to buy us another bridge, we will
Yeah.
forego annual inspections. I really feel this is a safety issue
Right.
we found out on Johnson Bridge, 3 of the 4 girders are cracked. Stone Church Bridge is having, severe issues. Fleets Bridge has erosion issues, and then, Jamesville Bridge had those huge cracks in it. I feel it's something we have to do to protect the
I don't think it's at
of
all.
our, and I think it brings awareness, and maybe the state will start looking at, wow, we need to start helping the counties with some of this infrastructure. So, Sherry, did you have anything you'd like to talk on this? Anybody from the audience want to speak on this? Yeah, come on up, sir. State your name.
My name is Dave Murkison. I live on 446th on the Jim River, south of Mission Hill. We have a traffic issue on 446th when Fleets Bridge is closed. I put a game camera out, and we were getting upwards of 600 vehicles a day captured on the game camera. And the game camera has a 30-second reset interval. So I'm sure I was missing some, because cars and trucks tend to come in clumps. I don't have any real brilliance about what to do about that, because people drive around, you close the road and people drive around the barriers. Probably the most effective thing would be to persuade the sheriff to have a deputy out at each end of 446th between Old 50 and New 50. They could probably pay for a new car. They would probably generate a good deal of revenue. And so anyway, the ideal would be to try to divert traffic to the east. 447th is a gravel road, but there's no homes or farms, where there are a lot of homes and farms on 446. 448th is an oil road, and I know the oil road can be damaged if heavy vehicles, real heavy stuff goes down it. But it would be a big benefit to the people living on 446 if we could improve our control of the traffic when Fleets Bridge is closed. Thank you.
So I just want to clarify, your concern is the number of vehicles or that they are overweight and illegal?
No, I'm not concerned about weight. It's just there's a whole lot of them, a whole lot of vehicles, a whole lot of extra vehicles, where we normally get about 30 vehicles a day in a 24-hour period. We're getting hundreds a day. when Fleeks Bridge is closed. The other issue, which we have persuaded, I guess, the township to make the speed limit 35 miles an hour in portions of 446 where there are farms and homes. And that is, folks are used to driving 50 or 60 miles an hour on the gravel roads, and they just do it. And it would be, I think it would be a beneficial thing if the sheriff could remind people what the speed limit is, and particularly when the road is closed. Thank you.
Yeah, could I get your name one time so we can
Dave
put it in?
Murkison,
Murkison.
M-U-R-C-H-I-S-O-N.
Okay.
I'm sorry, M-U-R,
M-U-R-C-H-I-S-O-N.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, during the September flood, I went down the road, hit
Yeah.
446 once, and that was the first and last time because it was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how was it the other week when,
Not as bad, but.
I think during the flood, it was a lot of looky-loos.
Well, and the problem is when it was that real wet stuff earlier in the year, the road has a couple of boggy spots in it. And people were going almost axle deep in the mud at 50 miles an hour.
It's not good, yeah.
So we don't
And
encourage.
we did have a school bus almost run off the road.
Okay. Well, and that is a township road. Have you talked to the township about, doing through trucks and? Okay,
And so I talked, Rex stopped by today.
Okay.
And I talked about the no through truck signs and,
okay.
yeah, it's not, when Fleeks Bridge is closed, we don't encourage people, we put up road closed ahead signs at 448, 446, then on 444, we put them up at the Vollen Road, and we also put them up at Valley View on 446,
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of warning to not go that way, but sometimes,
People don't always listen, unfortunately.
Who's the private contractor that does the road work on that township road?
that I don't know.
Not sure.
Can you find out for me? Okay. Just email me.
Appreciate it. Anybody else care to speak on annual inspections on county James River bridges from the audience? All right. Just seeing or hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. I guess this is something I feel that I think we need to do, and like Joe had just said, that probably just saved the county in excess of $200,000 because we had that documentation. I wish we had better news, but these bridges are
Do you have an estimate of what they aren't that significant in cost? What does an inspection cost?
Oh, I honestly, I couldn't tell you that honestly.
Did you tell me it was around less than 7,000,
I
right
was-
around
I- I wanted
That's
7,000?
what I was thinking.
I
Yeah,
wanted to say 5, but
Okay.
I'm not gonna
Yes.
say that.
yeah,
If we are gonna go to annual, I would like to see some bids.
yeah. I think that's,
Just in case we
Probably
have to
would.
pay for all of it.
yeah.
Because the state could say no. The state could say,
Yeah.
we'll do every other year and you're on your own for every
So
year.
that's something you want me to do in January when we go out for bids?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. And I think, and then, let's see what the state says too about annual versus.
And even if the state says no, I really think I feel this is something that we need to do as the county, just with all these problems we're, identifying, and it's a really issue of safety in my concern. And I think this is in addition, we do our annual inspections, and then, if the bridge floods like it did this year, I still think we keep with our policy of having it inspected before it's reopened, if it is closed down. That's your policy now, correct? If it gets closed down, it's inspected before it's reopened, so, okay. So, anything else from anyone on the board? So, I guess I'd like a vote on this, so I guess I would make a motion to have annual inspections on the James River bridges, and you're gonna open that up to bids.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Further discussion?
I would,
Do you think we should wait to vote on it until after we know the exact cost to the county, the potential?
I think we have to do it regardless of the cost because of the safety issue. Even if the state isn't going to pay, I feel this is something that we have to do. I hope the state is going to pay for that, but even if they aren't, I guess my personal belief with all the damage that we've had, we
And the
have to do
potential-
something. And the potential,
that's
yeah.
coming.
What would have happened if we would have opened up Jamesville Bridge and a big truck of hay or something would have gone across it? Or a school bus, well, yeah, or a school bus or something. I think it's something that we have to do for the safety of the citizens, regardless of the cost. We know the cost. If we have to pay 100% of it, it's around $7,000, but,
we think.
well.
I'd like to see the
Yeah.
cost, and I'd like to hear from the state on biannual versus biannual personally.
Okay, so
I think the decisions we make, we should have as much information in front of us as possible. This is not a critical decision. We are not doing bridge inspections in January, February, or March.
Right.
These inspections will be done late spring, summertime, when everybody wants to be back outside. So
Okay.
I just think it's better if we have the information in front of us in order to make the decision that's best for the
Okay.
county.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Clemish,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Healy,
No,
Los,
No,
Swenson.
Yes.
Motion pass. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 10A. Mr. Schurslick,
Can we go back and do the claims?
Thanks,
and
Mike.
we were going to do that after
Thanks, Mike.
to get
Oh.
Paul going. Is that okay
That's
with
fine.
you? All right, he's going to come up and brief us quick on what's going on, and then we'll do the claims.
I just have the same boring stuff that we just kind of repeat.
It's exciting,
Copy, paste.
exciting stuff.
This morning, we started off with our second kickoff meeting with the applicants for the public assistance. Looks like we're gonna have around 5 to 6 applicants in the county. Stone Church, Janesville Colony, the county itself, a township, and we had a water district here. BY Water was here for some damages that they had. The DRC, or for the individual assistance, is all set up and up running. They did a soft start yesterday. They're up and running at the office today. We had, I would say, 3 or 4 people come in. I don't get to see everybody that walks in the door, but that's for the individual assistance. So they've been, it sounds like they're being good turnouts. So they're very happy. They're happy they're there. Nice place to work out of. So everything's going that way. So right now we're just basically getting the first flood in what we call, it's South Dakota 4440. That's how they name the incidences that we have. The first flood in March was disaster number 4440, and now we're on 4469. And on 4440, there's a few townships just getting contacted and working on their damage monies and stuff like that, getting the paperwork put in. The counties, as far as ours went, that was closed out last week. Mike, he wasn't here to talk about it, but all the stuff is submitted now. They're just basically coming tomorrow to do some site inspections and stuff like that on some of the stuff that wasn't completed yet. And we'll just keep continuing going on. It might be May before we see the big money for a lot of them, but the gentleman that we have working from FEMA is very, very good. And he wants to make sure that everything is done right and that we get the most that we can. So we're very, very happy about that. And he also now has been assigned to us for 4469. So he'll probably be here a whole year doing his thing. So other than that, I don't know if you have any questions, anybody, how do you want to do this?
Any questions for
there's,
Paul?
just kind of for information, in case anyone's not from Yankton County, there's 11 counties that
Yes.
can come to our
Yep.
site.
Yep, and they've been pushing it out, but they can even, with the SBA, they can even come in from Nebraska. I mean, it's because the SBA, it's FEMA, all that stuff, but any of the state stuff that we've got state offices, housing, social services is at the office over there, set up in the center. But yeah, 11 counties can come here. We had a couple that sounded like we're gonna go to other places to meet the briefing meetings because they couldn't be here at 8:30 this morning. So it's working out well. Everybody is kind of getting this down, I don't want to say down path, but things are going a little smoother for next year.
Yeah. No more flooding, Paul.
All right.
That's
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Schurslick from the audience? All right, looks like you're off the hook. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks.
All right, back to item number item number 6, claims. Is there any questions on any of the claims?
I had a couple
Yep.
items. I pointed this out before and pointed out again.
What page you on, Don?
I'm go to page 18,
Okay.
juveniles. We paid $17,710.
Wow.
That's for maybe 2, Rob? 2 people? Or 1?
I don't know the number. I mean, what the court has been doing is, thank you, Gary. The court has been confining juveniles up in Sioux Falls on a regular basis. So I don't know if that's for 1 or 2, that could be right, but I don't know if that's accurate or
I
not.
believe the sheriff said it's $250 a day per juvenile. Does that sound right? So,
Sounds right, at
So,
least at
at
that
minimum,
number.
yeah.
So it has to be more than 1.
Unless it depends on how many days they sentence them.
Yeah.
So for that line item, the budget is 76,000. We are 38,000 over budget right now on that one line item.
And that you can never,
Yeah.
you'll never know what
Yeah.
exact amount to budget for.
And on page 26, just for general information, 2 large checks for gravel totaling almost $600,000.
Mhm.
And another one for 210,000, so we had a big,
That was the
Big
bridge.
money.
Is that the bridge
I
on
think that was the bridge,
445?
yep.
Thanks for pointing those out, Don. Any other questions on the claims? Entertain a motion.
Move approval of the claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item, we'll do November payroll. Any questions on November?
rule.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, the next item is unanticipated revenue from emergency management. Paul, do you want to come back up here for this one? Looks like it's from Avera. Oh,
It's just grant money.
Grant
that-
money?
That Paul has
Okay.
received, and plus the donation.
okay. Okay, it's the grant money. Unanticipated revenue, that's a good thing. That's what we want to see.
Then that will go back into his budget.
So we just need to approve that, and then that'll go back into the emergency management budget. Okay.
What, Paul, what does LEPC stand for?
Local Emergency Planning Committee.
You're so good, I can't stump you on anything, can I?
All right, any questions on that? Entertain a motion to accept the,
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. What's the Public Health Service Contract.
This is just a yearly contract with the state for the nurse's office.
Okay. Is anybody here from the public to speak on this? Doesn't look like it, so. This is the yearly contract for the nurses downstairs, okay. All right, entertain a motion unless anybody's got questions.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, item number 7 is done. On to item number 11, Safety Center Dispatch Air Conditioning Replacement. Johnson Controls. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. My name's Dennis Evans. I work for Johnson Controls. There's a couple of us that actually live here in town. So thank you for having us come service your 2 buildings here. What we ran into was last summer, the air conditioner for the dispatch area over at the safety center decided it didn't want to work anymore. One of the crucial parts for the air conditioner didn't work. Further research, we couldn't find the exact part anymore, so we did find one other end of the country, of course. It took a while. I think it took almost 10 days by the time we got the part, got the call, got the part. Of course, then it was raining. I think it rained like 3 days in a row. I actually had police officers help me carry my tools onto the roof that day that I showed up to help me get it done. So in that time period, we had extra fans in the room, but there's a lot of, there's more, 2 or 3 people in that room. It's in the middle of the building, there's no windows to the outside. We did the best that we could. Not only the people in there, but there's a lot of expensive equipment in there that this unit takes care of. After we got it going and everybody was happy, we decided, well, we're gonna give you a price for a new unit, because this has been up there since day 1, since you guys put that up there. But in the meantime, we stood back and looked, and there's no backup unit in there at all. There's no second. So there's no, no outside air, no nothing. So we came today with a proposal for a second unit to put in there. And so this would be either the backup, or we can make this the primary unit and then make the older unit be a secondary unit. The unit actually sits up in the ceiling or sits on the wall, depending on how much space we have up in there. In our bid, we proposed to have a unit actually sit back in the IT closet there, because obviously that's where all the expensive equipment is. So there's a unit back there, and then there's another unit that sits out and takes care of the dispatch area. I don't know if you've there's these mini split units are all over the place. The York model that we sell, that we propose, has one of the best warranties that there is for these things.
What's the warranty on it?
Warranty is 5%, or 5 years for 100%, and then there's an extra 2 years on a compressor.
Okay.
As far as noise, there really isn't. It's 56 decibels, which is hardly anything. So we don't have any. There shouldn't be any noise complaints on these things, because they sit right in the room where they're sitting, where they're doing their job.
So is this quote just for the replacement of the existing one? It's
No.
not for a backup, is it?
No, this is for the backup.
This is for the
second.
backup, okay.
Yeah.
Full replacement for the backup, all right. Okay. That's the $12,444.
That is for the 2 air conditioners that we would be putting in that would be the second AC to be put in. That would be the backup.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That would be for, well, if we make the old one the secondary unit, then the new ones would be the primary unit, because they're newer.
Okay. So we'd still have the old one as a backup, is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any additional costs that'll have to go into the old one? It's functioning as of now?
It's functioning correctly
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
Okay. So this is just for okay.
Yeah.
Structurally going through walls, and have you looked that deep? Is there any issues with that? Because you got to run that line outside, right?
Joe, funny you should say that. Okay, so there it is. Joe knows the room. So, in that area, and this is all included, that's why it's a little higher.
Okay.
Okay, in that area, there's a special floor there. It's a false floor, so all that communication cables underneath. You don't have nothing overhead, nothing in the walls. Everything's underneath, so you don't have to worry about anything. So that's where our issue comes in. In there, it doesn't matter where we go. We either go up or down. We have to core drill through the floor because it's concrete. So that is the only issue that we really have.
Okay.
And that's a little extra added cost, because there's no way to get out of there. Anywhere you go, you gotta go through concrete. But that's really the only
Okay.
bad part of the project.
That's reflected in here,
Yes.
though. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
is-
I want
that
to
is
make
why
sure
it's a
that
little
was.
higher, because we can't just hammer drill a little tiny hole in there, it's gotta be about a 6-inch hole going through the floor to get all the lines and the conduits and everything through.
So if we have Joe drill it or chisel
Joe's
it
gonna
out, then
help.
we could get a
Yeah.
reduction in that? We could
Yes,
do
I would
that.
request Joe to be there if this passes and goes through, so.
And this will come out of the E911 fund?
Okay.
If it is strictly 100% for the dispatch?
Yes.
And
Which is
nothing for the safety center or
Correct.
anything? It
Yeah,
has
it's
to be 100%?
totally for dispatch, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally
Any
for
other
dispatch
question?
and the
Did you-
equipment that it handles.
Did you have a question, Gary?
You said this is the old unit, it's from the day one, right? Okay, is that the old refrigerant like the R22 then?
Yes, it is.
Okay, will you change that out and upgrade it or stay the same?
No, it has to stay the same. We can't.
Yeah, because that stuff's
all
really
that internal
expensive.
Stuff, yeah, all that internal stuff has to be.
What's that cost per pound now? Oh, you gotta know.
I haven't sold it for probably 3-4 months, and even then it was $100 and some a pound.
Yeah, I had
But
some
if it
put
doesn't
in,
leak, then
I had some put in, it was 250 a pound,
yeah,
just last year.
well, cost.
Yeah.
So, but you know, if it doesn't leak out, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So, not until something happens, that's when you have an issue.
Don, Sherry, did you have anything on this? Looks so, I know I got several calls this summer when it got pretty warm and we got to keep the dispatchers, comfortable because with all the electronics in there, like you
Just
said, it gets,
electronics alone,
it gets,
puts out enough heat.
Okay.
Yeah, there really doesn't, I mean, the dispatch area has a heater.
Yeah.
It doesn't
need
it doesn't have to work. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to kick on because of all the extra heat from the computers and all the equipment on the top of it. So.
Did you have any questions, Sherry? Any questions from the audience on this? All right, seeing or hearing none, I guess back to the board. I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'd move approval of the Johnson Controls bid.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Did you have something? Yeah.
Are you gonna give us a good customer discount like you did last time?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Clement.
Yes, motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. Next item on the agenda, item number 12, county mission statement/vision statement. Mr. Vedder, welcome.
Good evening. I know you've had a number of meetings before I started, and I was involved in the last one, but we've came up with a draft for the vision statement and mission statement. I'll read those real quick for the citizens who have not seen or heard those. For the mission statement, it states, "The mission of Yankton County is to provide citizens with high-quality public services that create a foundation of trust, unity, safety, and collaboration." And the vision statement is, "Yankton County will be a dynamic place with a strong sense of community pride, environmental responsibility, economic prosperity, and rural culture." And so with that, I know you wanted to start getting public comment and start moving towards maybe seeing what you want to have as your finalized statements.
You want to give a background of what we're doing?
Go ahead, Jill.
So as part of our, what meetings were they called?
We had strategic
Our
planning.
strategic planning meetings. During our strategic planning meetings that we've had with District 3, we started talking about vision statements, mission statements, and several counties have them, several cities have them. Yankton County did not have anything, and so we talked about brainstorming on what we see fitting for Yankton County and getting something for, it works as a marketing tool if people are looking at Yankton County, moving here. It holds some accountability to staff and elected officials, and so that's kind of why we're discussing it, I guess, or how it came about.
Does anybody from the audience care to speak on this topic? All right, I guess seeing or hearing none. I think that this is something that we should take some time and make sure we do it right and just go over it. And I don't know if we want to publish this in the paper or if we want to have another meeting with District 3 and go over this some more. I mean, I kind of like it how it is, but I think we need time to get some public input on it as well. And what does the rest of the board feel?
Sure, if you throw it on Facebook, you'll get a comment or two.
Yeah, I'm sure, all positive too, I'm sure.
And I think the other thing is maybe at a department head meeting,
Yeah, I
it
think
should
that's,
be discussed
I
and
think that's a
input there
great
because,
idea. I think that's a great idea.
they are certainly at the forefront for implementing the statements that we're going to be adopting.
Yeah. Could we do that? Could you forward that out to all the department heads, Gary? And then we'll get some input from them. And I guess while we're redoing our handbook, I think we should incorporate the final version in with this. I know this is a little bit later for the code of conduct, but a lot of these things are also, should be really intermixed with a code of conduct as well. And I know some counties use code of conducts, some of them follow a mission statement, some of them use both. So I really think they're closely related, so. I think that's probably the next step is we have the department heads give us their input on what they want to see. Do you have anything, Don or Gary, on that?
I thought they were well written.
Yeah, I think they are pretty well too, so. All right, we'll do that. All right. Anything else on that? All right, moving on. Next item on the agenda, item number 13, discussion on possible comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance review by a consultant. Mr. Vetter.
So basically, one of the things I've noticed since I've been here is that the comprehensive plan hasn't been adopted since 2003. Just wanted to begin a discussion on, with all the, where Yankton County is headed in the next 20 years, with all the public discussion talking about ordinances and things. Maybe this is a good time to get a better view of what's transpired in some of the areas that have developed now and how, and just get there's never a perfect time to review the comprehensive plan, but maybe this is a good time to start thinking about getting the public involved again and moving forward on shaping the future of Yankton. So it's not a small commitment, I'll tell you that up front. I've gotten a couple quotes from firms that did Pennington County and City of Box Elder, and then the company that did City of Yankton's comprehensive plan. They're giving me rough estimates of probably between $100,000 and $150,000. So just to let you know that up front. Both mentioned that a lot of it's because since it's that old, they feel like they basically be starting new. So at this point, and if you just wanted to focus on some specific areas of the comprehensive plan, maybe we could get that lowered a little bit, or if there's ways to, maybe we do some of the census data or something up, ourselves. There's probably ways to work around some of that, but you find that city and county government never seems to find time to actually complete these comprehensive plans. That's part of the problem why everybody seems to be 15, 20, 25 years old before they push enough to where it's time to do it again. And so that's primarily the biggest issue. And since City of Yankton's is done, that will certainly help with the county's, molding the county's future plan too. But with that, I'll just let you discuss what you want to do at this point.
Mr. Vetter, our comprehensive plan, it's it's like a 300-page document now.
Correct.
At least this is what I heard, the tendency is to go toward a little bit less documentation now, because our comp plan goes into excruciating detail on things that, you know.
Nobody looks at.
No, I remember Don and I were on this when we did this, and how many pages was on the airport, for crying out loud? And sheet after sheet after facts that change every year. From what I've heard, and I guess what I've been looking into, is our comprehensive plan should be a little more brief, and what we want it to be is when a business is looking at Yankton County, why should they be coming to Yankton?
Do they do like executive reports?
Definitely, yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, most of the reports nowadays all tend to get rid of a lot of data that's in those plans and make them a lot thinner, a lot easier for people to read and understand, and so that it makes a lot of sense.
They're
to
kind
do
of a
that.
picture book anymore,
Yeah.
aren't they? I mean,
Yeah, a lot of it's
Yeah.
maps, a lot of it's,
Yeah.
but you know, you're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of them where they had every little town, every detail, the history was 50 pages long. I mean,
Yeah.
they just go on and on and on, and that's all great information, but it's not necessarily something that's very helpful for citizens to understand where a county or city want to go.
Exactly.
That's an appendix.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I guess I'd be interested in looking at, like what Don said, if they had an executive brief, certainly no more than 50 pages, and probably less if we could, just a real short synopsis, and I think it should be focused on really businesses who'd want to locate to Yankton. What do we have to offer them? Nobody's going to read through 300 pages of charts and everything else to get that information. I don't know, what does the rest of the board feel? I think we could, keep what we have, but maybe just have a different version of that.
I'll certainly look into that and see what the thoughts are there, so.
Anybody from the audience like to speak on that? All right, seeing or hearing none, okay.
And then also the second part is, there's been some discussion about with possibly needing some outside zoning legal consulting to provide guidance on what was discussed earlier in regards to some of the legal concerns with the ordinance. Just didn't know if you wanted to discuss maybe some funding or something for that effort.
Do you have an idea of a dollar amount?
Not off
to
the
get you
top,
started?
I can tell you generally you're looking at, if it's a per hour thing, you're probably at $100 plus per hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my feelings are with what we're dealing with the zoning ordinance is I think we need somebody from the outside to just take a look at, where we're standing, and there's so many technical issues with zoning that I think that's something that we need to look at doing. What are you looking for, like a motion to authorize you to do that, or what do you?
Basically, I don't know if you want to set some kind of flat amount, no higher than, or
Okay.
however
What do you think
want
the
to
best
do
way to
it.
do that is, Patty? I mean, should we set a dollar amount or just give you author? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
You can set a dollar amount, and then
Okay.
set it up to a spending limit of some sort.
Okay, and this would be also to work with, like, it's working with the comprehensive plan and doing a review of our zoning ordinance and making sure we know where we sit
Correct.
on that, okay.
Don't we want to, before we go and try to find this person or people, don't we want to define what we want done?
Oh, definitely, and I think the next
you bring-
3 weeks will probably define that with the appeals and things, and so yeah, we would give a definite, specific direction
Can you
of
bring
what we're
us a
looking
list
for.
of things that you would want?
Sure thing,
reviewed?
yes.
Well, I think first thing, we need to have our zoning ordinance itself reviewed, do we not? To see where, where we stand. I mean, that's probably the
I think
first
I
example.
think basically too, and make sure that everybody feels comfortable with the direction that we'd be going if it does revert back to a previous year or whatever, so.
Okay. So do you have some specific things that you'd like to see done on this, or?
Yeah, I'd just like to know what he's gonna review for.
Yeah.
There should be a checklist that these are the things that are highly important, these
Yeah.
things are less important, and
Yeah.
these
Okay.
things we'll let go.
Yeah.
And then if we want some of them that they're gonna let go moved up, let's move them up
Sure.
and get them reviewed.
I agree.
What about Don, or I'm sorry, Joe, Sherry, do you?
No, I
What's your
agree with
thought?
Don. I think the scope needs, if we're going to go down this path, we need to have a defined scope to know exactly
Okay.
what's going to be returned, so we don't have wasted dollars.
Sure. Well, what would you guys like to see? I think the big glaring issue right now is our 2006 zoning ordinance changes. And I think we're gonna need somebody from the outside to review that and see where we sit. Are there other zoning ordinance amendments that are in question? We don't know. And I think at this point, where we need to start at is finding out where we sit at with our zoning ordinance first before we do anything else. And I think that can happen right now. You got anything, Joe, or is that kind of what you're talking
Exactly,
about?
yeah,
Because
that's-
where do we sit if we adopt another zoning ordinance and it affects a subsequent ordinance? Are they both now invalid? I don't know the answer to that, and I think that's where we have to get the expertise at. So.
Basically, just a second opinion is
Yeah,
what,
well, I think we need somebody to do a review of our zoning ordinance and tell us where we stand.
There has to be some attorney out there that specializes in this.
Yes.
I mean, all
There is.
attorneys, they all have a,
Yeah, and it's not, and I think we've all been working with this for so long, I think this is a point where we need some outside eyes, that somebody sees something that we haven't seen. And so that's where I would say we start at, and I don't know what the other commissioners feel like, is we can start making changes and start doing something, but as we do that, is that gonna help us or hurt us? I think we need to know where we're standing and then move forward after that, so.
well, we've kind of identified our plan
Mhm.
in executive session, I guess,
Sure.
mostly, and on how we want to move forward. Is that what we're thinking, is have just somebody who really focuses on zoning to take a second look at that
I-
and make sure we're doing the right thing?
I think so. I think what's your thoughts? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
you're
think
the zoning expert of us all.
That's basically what we were discussing, and just to get clarification and
Okay.
make sure that we're all in the same wavelength and going the right direction. so.
Rob, I know you've kind of weighed in, but you're not, no offense, you're not like the zoning expert for South Dakota or the country that I know of anyway, but I mean, I guess I could see that, just a second opinion.
Yeah, it'd be
basically someone
yeah.
saying, okay, yeah, that looks like a reasonable
Yeah.
pathway
Yeah.
to go. Start small anyway. I don't
Yeah.
think we need to authorize like
Yeah, I
No,
think
and
it's,
I think that
gangbusters or
keeps the
anything.
cost path down quite a bit, just focusing in that direction.
well, I think it's similar to how we did the handbook where we hired a HR consultant. We could have all probably rewritten our handbook, but we know we're not HR experts. And so we hired an HR company. I think this is the same thing where we need somebody to come and review this document, see where we stand, and give us a recommendation on how to move forward. So do you have any idea on the approximate costs, or do you want us to
No,
give
we
you
can
a?
certainly check, I can certainly check into that
Okay.
and bring that to the next meeting.
Did you want the go-ahead to start looking into that, or tonight, or
I
what?
certainly could take a motion, yeah,
Okay.
to at least explore what it might cost and.
But I think before we go down this path, everybody talks about the path going forward, and we're going to go to the path. What's the path? what's our specific goal with spending the money to review the ordinance? What in the ordinance are we reviewing? Is it to make sure all the changes that were done since 2003 were legal? Is that what we're looking at? Or is it to look through and say, you have a hole in this ordinance, you need to add some kind of a restriction around this? I mean, there's a lot of things in this book, but, and I've worked with, no offense, I've worked with lawyers in the past, and if you don't give them a very clear path, they can use up your $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever you commit pretty quickly and say, well, I did all this work, and you say, well, that's not the work I wanted you to do.
I guess
So-
that's us.
I don't think we'll get the kind of person that we're looking for $5,000 or $10,000 to do a valid job on this. I think we're talking a lot more than that, if I understand what you're talking about.
You know, so we're talking at 20,000 then, and then we just got done talking about 100 to 150,000 to do a comprehensive plan, and none of this was in the budget for next year. So I guess my caution is to make a decision on this tonight without a very clear path defined on exactly what we want the outcome to be, I think is getting the cart in front of the horse, however you want to say it.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I mean, I wasn't looking for a decision necessarily, just if that's the path you want to go down, I can certainly make an inquiry and get some more things for the next meeting.
Sure. I guess I would, then encourage Mr. Vetter to move forward, and all of us, it's up to us to decide, I guess, the extent of that. We can bring our ideas to the next meeting, and if you want to try your search to see what you can, is that fine with everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on, next item on the agenda, item number 14, clarification of building permit fees.
November 5th, you took an action to reduce the building permit fees from $5 to $3 per $1,000 of valuation. At that time, there was no specific date stated, so we just wanted to make sure that if you're planning on or wanting it to be effective immediately, or if you want to do it at the reorg meeting in January, what you want to do with that.
It was published in the paper on November 27th. And is it 10 days after that then, right, Rob?
It's 20.
20?
Okay.
It goes into effect 20 days after.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask you to verify that software as we're working through that it reflects
You bet.
that, so.
And with that, it brought up a question by East River Electric. They're doing a substation that's going to cost, and a communication tower that's going to cost $7.7 million. So they just wanted to make sure if they were paying the $3 per thousand or the $5 per thousand. That's a difference of $38.5 to $23.1. So they just wanted to make sure they knew what they were paying. And that's all I had.
All right, so we're clear on that? All right. Did you want to give us an update on enforcement too while you're up there? For number 16?
Basically, the meetings are set for appeals for tomorrow, the 11th, and the 18th. So the next 3 weeks we'll be busy with the enforcement appeals. So
All 9:45?
9:45 or 10.
Or 10,
I
okay.
can't remember one. It depended on what was all on the agenda. So
All that's been published?
Yeah,
they've
tomorrow's
all been
9:45.
published. Tomorrow's 9:45.
Okay, so 9:45. All right. Did you have any?
Yeah, Mr. Vetter, I just want to tell you that I've had some very good comments about you, how easy you are to talk to. And when people come in to see, I'm not going to mention any names, but they just really enjoy your personality. and your openness and your willingness to help them. So thank you for
Appreciate
doing that.
Thank you.
Did you have anything to add, that you wanted to add to enforcement update, Rob, or, okay, and then, are you gonna be able to attend tomorrow, or would you be?
I have been, I helped
Okay.
set times.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. All right, appreciate it. Anybody, do we need a break?
No.
All right, entertain a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're now in Board of Adjustment. Next item on the agenda, item number 17, conditional use permit for Tim Bender. Did you want to explain this and then have Mr. Bender come up, or is Mr. Bender here?
Hey, Mr. Bender,
All right.
this has been previously on
Yep.
the agenda, so.
All right, Mr. Bender, come on up, sir. State your name for the record and tell us about your project.
Good evening. My name's Tim Bender. I'm here to request a conditional use permit for the property I have on Highway 52. It's currently zoned Lakeside Commercial, I believe. Since our last meeting, or I was turned down, I had provided some plans you should have in your packet, I believe. I also have per planning's recommendation or possible letter or whatnot from a plumber regarding septic, and I have that if you so wish.
Sure, I'll take a look at whatever you have.
It's simple, signed by LaCroix, Marlin.
Just send it there and it'll go all the way.
Yeah, I can pass them down if that's easier.
How many you need? There's adequate green space. I could put 20 bedrooms up there, and I don't plan on going anywhere near that. So. Otherwise, any questions on some of the provided information, I'd be happy to address.
You're still planning on having that other building as a part of this,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
I think there's a proposed
No. I think there was,
sketch on that.
pardon me?
There's a proposed sketch on that in that
Okay.
packet. And I don't have original documents, so I don't know where plumbing lays, electrical lays, or anything, so that may be subject to change as to where it's at. But the goal would be to provide the egress needed for fire, possible fire hazard.
And again, we're looking at the conditional use right now, so, you know, when building comes, we look at details in the building plans more,
Well,
a little more.
that's where I thought we were at, but there was no objections. I did speak to a couple neighbors, and one's concern was dogs on their property, but the problem, we just said we put a fence up. But I think people are getting a little more responsible with their pets, but
Any other questions for Mr. Bender from the board?
So during the planning commission hearing, you guys went through A through H, all of the ingress, egress, off right-of-way parking, refuse, surface areas, and all of that. Utilities, screening, buffering, signs, required yards and open spaces, and general compatibility. So this would be on page 128. I believe that it has to be done at that level as well. Yep. Ingress, egress, right-of-way, refuse, all of those were covered.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, I'm asking the two
Yeah,
of you
we
that
did
are on
go-
the
yes.
planning commission.
We
Yes.
didn't go through line by line, but we did go discuss those,
Okay,
as well as, you know, with this being an existing,
So it's an existing building,
building and
basically,
business
he's,
with all,
yeah.
you know, all that outlined already.
do you know when that building was built, sir?
the main building was built around 2000.
Okay, so that would have been, you know, pre-zoning when that building was built?
yeah, but isn't it whenever you change something about it, you are supposed to be bringing everything up to standards. So, but 1905 is part of what we are to review here.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything we didn't discuss on here.
I don't see any that will be a problem.
Yeah, I think we discussed about all of them. We talked about where parking's gonna be. Utilities are there, septic's there, and, I remember talking about signage. I don't think you're gonna have any additional signage or anything
No,
on there
no.
for this, so it's like, but,
So much just like some of the signage that's there already, that, keep it clean and simple.
yeah. So. But you are right, we probably need to get in the habit of doing a better job of identifying
Methodical.
each requirement, no matter how simple the project may seem.
Any other questions from Mr. Bender?
No.
I'll go open it up for public comment, so. Anyone from the audience care to speak on this project, either for or against? Now would be the time to do so. All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. Bring it back to the board. Mr. Vedder, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
No, not at this time. I have no issues with this project.
Mr. Swenson, you got any comments or questions for the applicant? Looks like he's got a lot more documentation than last time. Don, you got any questions?
Nope. And my apologies for not having that the first go around. I just had no clue
Sure.
that it was necessary at the time, whether it's a lapse in some of the zoning had an issue.
Sure.
You say you would go up to 10 apartments?
Well, correct. Bedrooms, basically, but there's only really played out for four apartments. Without getting, I mean, my limitation is the fire egress through the exterior walls, having the windows and things like that. So that's my limitation. And I basically built it with the bedrooms around the perimeter so that they would have their second egress. And it's all been verified and bona fide by the fire marshal through the documents provided there too, so.
Well, everything I hear at YEPG and other things is that we're in drastic need of living spaces for potential employees and growth. So I commend you for doing it.
Well, I look at all the apartments growing up and I'm like, do I really want to do this? But I don't see all the information you're looking at, so. It's just a way to utilize the second floor. It's hard for commercial use.
Yeah. Joe Sherry, any questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Let's move approval of Mr. Bender's conditional use permit based on findings of fact.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
The 4 apartments, about how much square footage for each one?
Oh, give me a second.
Or are they all the same?
No, they won't be all the same. Like I said, my handicap is the exterior walls. So I had the one apartment, it was at 960 square feet. Would be a 2-bedroom. Then there'd be like a studio at 480. Another one on the west wing would be 800 square feet, another 2-bedroom. The center is 1,400 square feet, and then the east wing is 1,400 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Swenson,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Clemmons.
Yes, motion pass.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to come out of Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we're back into regular session. Anybody need a break? Keep on going? All right, next item on the agenda, item number 18, dedication of public street south of Highway 52, west of Deer Boulevard. Mr. Alan Betchikin. Welcome, sir.
My name's Alan Betchen. I'm with AAB Engineering. We are looking at a commercial site just west of Deer Boulevard on the south side of 52. As part of our initial conversations, we went to DOT to discuss access points and started down that route with them. This section of 52 has 1,000-foot access spacing requirement. So that's a pretty good spacing requirement, and it's really not met by most of the existing driveways out there. So you can't think of what's typical. You have to, like out there now, they wouldn't permit what's there today. So what we originally proposed was actually aligning with the drive access that goes into the storages to the north, and there was a common access road that would serve the other commercial properties at the front. DOT was very clear about they will not permit that access within 1,000 feet of Deer Boulevard. And because there's an existing access on what is essentially the 16th line going west, they want that access to be improved and to provide the secondary access for, which essentially becomes a main thoroughfare for a sizable portion of land on both, in what is currently proposed as part of this development and the west. That brings us to an interesting problem of an individual user maintaining a road for 160 plus acres of possible commercial development, which is what is already contemplated. Our client can't take on those maintenance responsibilities individually. A lot of what you normally see when it comes to commercial access is you see they maintain their portion of a common access road that gets you over to a drive, but it's really, they're either adjoining or only one piece away from it. When you get into nationwide retail tenant kind of credit, they want a guarantee of maintenance and really a cost controls long-term, because if they have an assessment, they don't know what the assessment is and they don't really control it, and it's by a larger group, and it becomes an unknown factor for them. We've came and met with planning and really went through it with DOT, trying to come up with a solution of what would actually make it viable to develop the tract on the south side. And really what it comes back to is we would like the county to entertain taking maintenance responsibilities of a portion of 200 foot of road that extends straight off of that quarter section line, comes down and gets past that first drive on our entry. We would build it and improve it to the county road standards or our heavy duty parking lot standard, whichever's greater, and then dedicate it back to the city as part of right of way. The accesses then could come off of that. It's just a different animal whenever you're dealing with commercial access off of tracks, and when you have to start consolidating what essentially, should DOT hold the line that they've said here, now you have at least 2,000 feet of road frontage onto the highway that they're sold, that this is the access point for, because there's not going to get another one for another 1,000 feet to the west. So it becomes a pretty big consolidation of traffic, and that's a lot to maintain for a single user especially. And you get into a bit of a chicken and the egg of one guy can't come in and do his part because he can't assume the responsibility for everything that is going on behind him, that he doesn't know what it is, and we can't cut them off because ultimately that's how the track develops. So that's why we asked for this item to be put for the commission, to get your input and thoughts about that, and see kind of what direction you would send us in as trying to develop the tract, if that makes sense.
So I've got this part of the
Yes,
packet.
sir.
Okay, so where do you see this
It's that
road?
cross-hatched area
Yep.
that you see in that corner. It aligns with the drive across the street, which
Yep.
is what DOT desire. And from an engineering standpoint, that's your most safe access point.
Right.
And it gets us actually 1,200 feet away from Deer, which is a heavily traveled
Right.
access. I mean, it is there's a lot of turning movements off of that. So by no means am I saying that. I think that there's a valid concern with just the amount of traffic that comes out of that road and the number of people in Deer. You don't really want to funnel more access that's closer on 52 from those turning movements. They need to be spaced.
Right.
And DOT was really clear that this is one that they did not want to right away for.
Yeah.
It's really hard from an engineering standpoint for me to stand here and say, hey, I know it's done here, it's done here, it's done here, it was done here. But DOT's response to that is, well, it was probably done before we started doing this, and we can point to some that maybe were still, it becomes a safety issue at a certain point that you don't really want to argue. And that's really where we're at, is they've drawn a pretty hard line in sand. And that's where they want the access, and that's a major connection point.
So, you know, what you're proposing to the county would go from 52 south to 200,
Mhm.
give or take feet, and then your client would, well, they'd build that, but then they would take over maintenance of that frontage road.
Yep, and the rest of it, so there's a larger plan of development that you kind of see schematically on here that has an internal road network that's maintained by, but it goes into, I think, more of a residential feel as you get farther back, larger tracks, that it's not the commercial frontages that are up front. The commercial, the 4 front or 5 front tracks would actually have another laterally maintained by those tracks road that goes paralleling to 52 to get them access to those frontage tracks and still have the frontage on 52. But then that's still all of it funneling into a single access point, and our client, our retail client, can't take maintenance of that, not knowing who's going to be there and what that is in perpetuity. It's a big pill for them to swallow, and that's where we come here.
Wouldn't the existing owner of that property be the guy that would be responsible for building the road?
So we will build the road. It's just a long-term maintenance of it whenever it's accessed by more than one parcel. So if we're the piece on the corner and we split off and we buy that piece, the road is then on our northwest corner, and that's the access, not just for us, because the entire field to the west isn't going to get another access to the highway either when it develops. So you're starting to talk about everybody coming to a single point of access.
I
and
didn't
putting one
understand
user.
that. Now I understand it.
Yeah, it's really, that's just that guy in the corner, which is our client, is on the hook for maintaining the final point of access for everybody to the south. And that's especially not knowing what goes there, just from a nationwide retailer just doesn't take those kind of numbers, because they just don't, it's an unknown for them. We'll build it to the standard and turn it over, but that's really when it becomes, hey, look, this is a road that's an access for multiple pieces. And that's why we would ask that it be turned over for county maintenance from that point.
Yeah.
So potentially, everybody that builds south of there would probably want to do the same thing. And we would end up having another county road.
If there is a point, and that's really the point of this question, this conversation, is there is a point where it is a county road because so many people are using it, and it's derived, and it is a consolidated point of access. It's not a drive, it's multiple parcels that are being picked up. But there is no set standard for how many people have to be on it before it's a road, and what is the maintenance responsibilities of that. And that's really why we're here, is to have that question of the commission, is, as a single retailer, just telling you as our client, we can't take, our client can't take those maintenance responsibilities. It's a do not pass go for us, unfortunately. It's just, they won't accept the lease. And so this is one of those things where it's really a county road. It's a single point of access, and it's being forced to be a single point of access by DOT access restrictions.
During your previous conversations, did anyone mention to you that long time ago, a previous commission passed an ordinance, I believe, that we can't take on any more roads?
No, actually, we've had this question, and we were told that that we needed to bring it to the commission was the place to have this conversation.
Okay, because my understanding is that was done many years ago,
60s.
is we cannot adopt any more roads onto our responsibility. So one thing, I think how people are kind of getting around that is creating road districts. Many of the housing developments create road districts.
And what the difference that, and I'm saying this to you, so let me step aside from this piece. As a commercial entity, the major commercial retailers can't come into a road district and take on those assessments the same way that a residential development and neighborhood does. So thinking of it as private streets in a residential development, those commercial plays and those commercial developments and commercial developers won't. They just won't, those won't, the big tenants won't. And that's where we stand at, which is why we would come back to the commission saying, I think there's a point where this is for your decision, but there's a point where you have to look at that and say, well, the times are different, and the economics of being able to encourage rural development from a commercial standpoint say that there has to be some middle, or there's likely to be a need for middle ground because of the consolidation of access points from a DOT standpoint. That's really what gets you. If it was just our drive or a couple of drives where we could control it, totally different conversation. But whenever you start saying, hey, this is it for 2,000 feet, 1,000 feet in this way and 1,000 feet that way, this is the only connection point and you can't restrict that. Well, from a county standpoint, you don't want us to cut it off because they need to be able to access that to develop that parcel and for it to develop. And from our standpoint, but we can't maintain it. That's not ours. That's a lot of land.
So do you represent the current landowner?
We are under contract with the current landowner to purchase. Yeah.
Okay, so they have no interest in investing in this property to develop the whole thing
They have actually, so where we started at with them, yes, so yes, they do. This plan of development is their plan of development. If you look on that same one, we were actually originally 3 lots to the east trying to align and work into the plan of development, which was an access road. Their plan of development kind of got shot in the foot at the same time as whenever we were going back and trying to flesh out this DOT access. Whenever they said, well, you can't have an access, you got to use the existing one, it started changing that. So that's where this comes, is we're the first ones in, and we have to kind of resolve how this access is going to work and what the maintenance responsibilities are now for this portion of it, because we're the user that's there and available.
Okay.
And I think there are different conversations.
Go to your map here, Highway 52. Wouldn't everybody on the north side of Highway 52 want the same thing then?
Yep, exactly.
Well, the difference on the north side of Highway 52 is you have more than one cut. Their cuts don't meet 1,000-foot spacing today.
Well,
If
but
we
many
could
of
do-
them share those roads, and we aren't responsible for those roads.
Absolutely. And so if we actually, so to be very clear, what we went to them, to DOT asking for was the exact same configuration that you see on the other side. And the answer was no, we won't permit that. And so what we get into is, literally, we wanted to align with the existing drive that's east of there, which would have given us the exact same configuration, and they won't permit that. If we could get just one to where we were one piece across and we can, then that's a different conversation. But if you're starting to limit all points of access to Highway 52 within a 2,000-foot stretch must come to one location, that's not the same thing that you have across the street. It's fundamentally different.
Has there been any conversation or discussion with the current landowner to maintain ownership of that section line? You know, essentially carve out your lot and then provide you an easement.
So part of the problem with, and this is getting really into the nuts and bolts of the title of it, is if from from a legal ownership standpoint, we can't guarantee access and maintenance to our client from it will be maintained to the standards that they can access, like a public road standard or off of theirs, then we can't, they either want to own it and maintain it and restrict it, or they have to have a guarantee that it's going to be maintained that way, and they can't enforce that on a private party.
Even with a written into the easement?
Yeah, but enforcement, it becomes, that's, I'm just
Then
saying
it
that
becomes
from
a
our
civil-
client, it becomes just an enforcement issue.
Sure. And I'll say, and I spoke with you on the phone, correct?
Yes,
A
sir.
couple months
Yes, sir.
ago.
Yes, sir. And that's really what we get into is it's, and I can tell you, this isn't just, this is very specific to our client and this retail, but it's not, it is a very general, our firm does a lot of commercial retail for kind of nationwide tenant stuff, and this is going to be something as you push for development from a rural standpoint, that's an issue, because if we can't get our own access, then we have to come off of a public road, and that's really common in commercial title requirements. That's a very common requirement. And you just can't do it if you got a 1,000-foot limit, or every parcel must be 1,000-foot long in size, and the numbers don't work value-wise.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comment quick. Does anybody from the audience care to speak on this topic? Come on up, sir. State your name for the record. Welcome.
Hi, Ryan Heine, 4200 Alfonso Road. I own the property and live to the south of where this is. We've been there for about 5 years. We've developed a pretty good tourist attraction business, and we have a private road that we had to develop, and it is shared by over 100 residents and 4 businesses. And it's been like that for the last 5 years, and I do almost all the maintenance on that. Well, actually, me and one other landowner do almost all the maintenance on that road for the benefit of everyone right now. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. We've been working down there trying to improve this area for quite some time. This guy is a national retailer, I'm guessing Dollar General from, yes. So as also being in the tourist area, we're definitely not too enthused about a Dollar General discount sort of pushed lower class. I don't know how you describe it, but they are not exactly a desirable store for one of our best tourism areas in the county. So you add that on top of this, that they also are looking for the county to spend tax dollars that we have been putting into for the last 5 years. Actually more than that, because I've owned that property for 40 years. And for them to get this benefit of having a public road, and us who've been down there investing for the last 5 years still have to sit here and do all of our own work, I don't think that's quite right. So.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience care to speak on this topic? All right, seeing or hearing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Are there any other questions from the board?
My thought is, where do you stop?
Exactly.
Why this, why this location? I mean, there's I believe Mr. Bender, who was here before, he was looking for something to do with his property to the north side. I mean, because why do you want to start at this location? Are there no other sites available, or why this spot?
So we've actually looked at, this is not where we started, remember, we started trying to be further east.
Sure.
With the access, and I would say that we've went up and down that corridor pretty extensively, trying to find pieces that work and are in the number, and that want to sell, and haven't, this is where we've landed. I mean, so this is, by no means am I saying it's exhaustive, but it's certainly not the first blush. It wasn't the, obviously we don't look for the hardest site to develop that has the worst access problems. I mean, that's not our standard. But it is it's a physical concern. And honestly, it wasn't one until DOT limited access to the highway.
And have you guys applied, you said there was a waiver you could do through DOT, have you guys applied for that then?
There is a variance request.
A variance, yes.
It's an engineering variance.
Mhm.
And this is stepping back, it's purely an engineering standpoint. It's not from a purely engineering standpoint, we don't meet the variance requirements. If that makes sense. Now, I will tell you that there have been places where the engineering variance requirements were not met, but they issued a driveway permit because of pressure. That hey, look, it's a political issue and we need to get the driveway approved. That's the reality to it, but that's from an engineering standpoint, we don't meet the variance requirements for the separation. We just don't.
And that's kind of where our discussion, I think, started, was you were working with Mr. McGinnis at the time, correct? And so I took a call on this, and it was talking about that variance, and I expressed that I felt it was probably, given that intersection, a pretty low probability of granting a variance.
So, can I ask you something? You actually want to put a Dollar General store right there? Is that what it is?
Our proposal is a Dollar General, yes, sir.
You can't live in Yankton County, can you? You don't live here, do you?
No, sir.
Okay, I've lived here all my life. My personal opinion, that it's not a very good location. Try further east.
We have.
How far east?
This is some of the answer to that. So to be very clear, we don't. Our client is a preferred developer, so we're the engineers for a preferred developer. We get a location, and this is really close to the exact location that they want to be in. So we don't pick that. That's a retailer selection. I can't agree with you or disagree with you. That's not a market planning thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
That's
basically, what you want is you're going to build it, and you want the county to take care of the 200 feet forever.
Yeah,
correct?
We'll build it and dedicate it. Yes, sir. That's what we're asking.
We need 4 new bridges in Yankton County.
I think we talked about coming off of Deer Boulevard. Was there a reason why that was not palatable, or?
I don't know. We've looked at other pieces on this same tract, and I don't know what the answer. I mean, I can't tell you no. I guess is my answer. Is that?
I couldn't remember if we discussed that or not.
We had talked about that. It's really a function of. It's not an impossibility. I think running more traffic through Deer is not necessarily the desired from a traffic standpoint, but I understand your point.
Oh, we have drainage issues less than a half a mile to the east of there. We don't have a clue of the drainage on this property and how it ultimately would be developed in an organized pattern. I can't be in support of it.
I can't either. It just, not the way our situation is with our roads and our bridges and 2 floods and.
Oh, I can understand. And that's why honestly, we have to, that's the question. I mean, this, by no means is this a take it or leave it conversation. We have to start with, hey, look, this is the norm as far as street development, whenever you get into common access points. That is what we're proposing is more normal than atypical. Not taking any roads isn't atypical. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just a different, so that's why we're here asking, okay, and if the county comes back and says, look, we can't take any ownership of a road, even if you guys improve it to whatever standard, then we can see what else is out there. I don't know what the answer is, and it may just be that it's not a viable site, and that's possible. Does that mean, that's gonna be honest, that's why we're here to ask and find out what those answers are.
Yeah, I think there's a consensus that the county is not interested in taking on more roads. We're interested in development and businesses, but from the county perspective, all we get is property tax. You know, this would only really contribute to state sales tax. It's outside of the city limits of Yankton. So you may have some retail people going from Yankton, then going out there, and then the city of Yankton isn't getting sales tax. So, you know, the state would really be the one benefiting on sales tax, and then us from property tax. Do you have any idea what the dollar amount on this building would be?
The probably improved values somewhere between 900,000 and a little over $1 million improved value. Land and, I mean, that's ish. It depends on a lot of things, but yeah.
Sure. Somebody care to make a motion? Or do we need to?
Do we need a motion to deny?
I don't
No.
think so. All right.
Road District, I think, is going to be your best long-term bet on the whole 40 acres.
Nobody's going to make a motion. We'll just move on to the next item. All right, next item on the agenda, item 19, sound system. To give you an update, we had one, or did we have two people come in? At least one.
Yeah,
Just one.
they're the both of the same
Yeah.
company.
They're looking, and they should give us a quote for the next meeting on what we're going to do, upgrade microphones. We're going to look at getting a screen out in the hallway. That way, when we have larger meetings, people can see it broadcast. And we're looking at getting some speakers, you know, for the sides and upgrading some speakers up here. So that is in the works. Does anybody have any recommendations for us on that? Yep, come on up. State your name for the record. Welcome.
Mike Swenson from up by Irene. I end up utilizing YouTube videos quite a bit. If you're going to redo your sound system, I'd suggest that you give Patty a mic and the state's attorney a mic, because that does not pick up on your video very well. Just a suggestion. But
Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're looking at wireless microphones for the table, and then they have a lot. These are original to this building, I think in 2003 or 2004. They have a lot better quality sound system now, so yep, we will do that. Thanks, Mike, appreciate it. Anybody else care to speak on this? Right, any of the commissioners have any questions or anything to add on that? So we should have a proposal at the next meeting. So, right, moving on. Next item on the agenda, item number 20, code of conduct for commissioners policy. Last meeting we handed out the Pennington County one. I think they have some pretty good things. I hope everybody had a time to review this. I looked in some of my paperwork that I got from the state at our county commission meeting, and I think one of the bigger areas we have is conflict of interest. So I printed something out, and certainly you guys don't have to go through it tonight, but I think we should add some different conflicts of interest to our conduct, our code of conduct book. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add, or Joe, Jerry?
Add to,
Well, just the discussion on the code of conduct.
Social media.
yeah, I had that
You know,
written.
That's what I wrote down.
In-
social media.
In today's, I mean, that's how people communicate, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And when this Pennington County was written, it's 2014, but it probably wasn't as prevalent.
Yeah.
And so if we're gonna adopt something, I think it should address.
But really, everything that you would put in the social media one is covered in here. It's just not mentioned that it's through social media.
And maybe not just as blanket as social media, but I think somehow it needs to be stated or worded or whatnot, but county business, I think, should be on a county webpage or county social media site, or
Sure.
That's where we have to be careful that things put into social media by any one of us, any employees, any elected officials isn't construed as official county
Yeah,
attitudes or whatever, you know.
good. Good advice. Do you share those sentiments then, Sherry, or did you have something else you'd like to
So
add?
we're looking at the Pennington County example?
Yes.
Is that what we're
Yes.
referring to?
Yeah, and anything you'd like to add or
Yeah,
like to
you know, I
see?
thought they did a really nice job of laying out. One thing that is nice about theirs is it doesn't just cover county commissioners and elected officials. They also in here outline that members would be advisory groups, task forces, committees, et cetera, anybody appointed by the commission to do something, because once you do that, they are representing the county in the business that they are conducting. And once you step in that political ring, your First Amendment rights, whether you like it or not, are changed. It's no different than when I taught in the high school, in the classroom. My behavior in that classroom was a much different level than my behavior anywhere else in public, just because I was an example to those captive audiences, if you will. So, you know, here, item C, members who sit on county boards, commissions, committees, et cetera, do not individually speak for the body itself unless approved by the member body. And that's a pretty good statement if you really read it. So if we're going to go down this path, you know, I really like how they wrote it out. There's several things I underlined in here. Members should not disparage or insult other members. And that all gets back to walking a little higher road, because we volunteered for this job, believe it or not. And it's on us to step up to the challenge that the office demands. But I had written at the very bottom, social media and radio. Because when we are speaking on the radio, and I was on the radio this afternoon, I think, I always have to remember when I'm doing that, I do not speak for the other 4 commissioners. I speak as Sherry Loest, commissioner, because what I say, you guys don't necessarily have to agree with, and I do need to make sure I keep that in the back of my mind when I'm speaking. And same goes for social media. So I would really like to plagiarize this. I don't know if we can or not, but I thought it was a really good example.
Don, Gary, do you got anything you'd like to add?
I thought the discussion about social media and radio and just public discussions, good reminders in there.
Gary, you got anything you'd like to add? I'm wondering if we shouldn't combine this with our mission statement together, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't have, ask Greg Henderson from District 3 to kind of, he's really good about pulling things together. I don't know what's the rest of the board's thought on something like this.
Well, I think it should be included as part of a
Altogether,
package
yes,
deal, if you
yes.
will. I think that
That's
it would
kind-
fit very nicely. Some of the things that were outlined in the mission and vision are in here. As far as,
Especially while we're really working on both of them, you know, kind of bringing them together under, you know, one document that covers the county's mission and vision statement, and then also, you know, the guiding code of conduct for.
Should all be part of the handbook, shouldn't it?
yeah.
And that all should tie into the handbook.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we've got what did we commit to doing quarterly reviews of the strategic planning? And some of this, you know, kind of all tied in together.
Yeah.
I mean, should we just roll the first quarterly review, carve out some time to kind of lock some of this down, or is that too far away, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd probably almost need another special meeting with District 3 and kind of, you know, put it all together in one document and get it through. I don't know if could even get that done yet this year, but, you know, we're working on it and we're making progress, but I don't know. What's your thoughts, Don and Gary? Is that?
I support that.
Okay. Is that what you guys agree to? So, all right, I think this is kind of a working document. Just, there's other examples out there. The National Organization of Counties has some good information on their website. The South Dakota Association of County Commissioners has some really great information on their website. So I think we can pull some of the best from all of those and try to incorporate that into what we have. So would we want to try to do another meeting with Mr. Henderson this month yet, or do we want to wait until next year? What's everybody's thought?
I would suggest next year, because this is the holidays.
Yeah,
We've already got three Wednesday hearings.
Okay.
And it just,
Okay.
between Christmas parties, kids' activities, and all of that stuff, I consider December shot.
Yep, that's a good point. So, okay, well, that sounds good. Anything else to add to that? All right, move it on. All right, item 21, reading public letters. Sherry, you wanted this on?
Yeah, I think going forward, we should probably refrain from reading anything in public from folks who just want to submit a letter and an opinion on things. I think either they need to be at the meeting to do that themselves, or they need to have somebody else stand in and do that for them. Because what it can do, and I'm guilty of it, I did it, is it gives the impression of favoritism possibly on that. No matter what I would have read, there's always another side that's viewing it as Sherry's taken a side. And I think we need to step away from that before it goes any further. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. I started it, and I shouldn't have. So, but I think we need to correct it now.
Yeah, I'd support that. I read a letter, and I know letters have been submitted and read into the minutes in the past, but, who knows if all of them have been, everyone's request has been accepted to have their letter read, and so it's probably better to just have 0.
Okay. You guys, what is Don, Gary, what's your thoughts? I guess I don't think we need to have, necessarily as a policy, but I think that's a good thing to follow. So, everybody fine with that? All right. All right, moving on. Item 22, public comment.
None listed.
Anybody from the audience care to make a public comment? All right, seeing or hearing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Item 23, commissioners' updates. We'll start over here. Gary, you got anything for updates?
No, just that I continue to communicate with Washington DC on the bridges, so just did it again today, so, and they sent me information today too, so.
Okay. Don, do you got anything? Nope. Joe, do you got anything?
No.
Sherry?
This time,
Sherry's always
I don't
got
have
something.
much,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. I only have one thing, and that's the ambulance task force. The deadline to get your name in the hat to be possibly on that is next Wednesday. I think it's December 11th by 5 p.m. So contact the auditor's office if you're interested in that. I think we're going to have a lot of interest, so that's a good thing.
Okay, I guess I don't have a whole lot. We did get a letter from, looks like Cindy Heidelberg from the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners president, and she's looking for, I guess, one of us to be like a liaison to our state legislators. I don't know. Is that usually how they do that? I guess I'm certainly all of us can contact our legislators, but I believe as we're going through, we have a lot of different things, especially this year, from the association with the half-cent sales tax and, a whole bunch of the policies going through. So I guess I'd volunteer to do that. I actually already sent our legislators the policy statements and the resolutions that we did earlier this year, and they've all received those, but if somebody else would like to do that, they certainly can.
So I'll just expand a little bit on that, because she has spoken a few times at our 8-county meeting about this, and I think her frustration always is, yeah, we want this to get done, but in the end, if nobody commits themselves to being responsible for doing it, it doesn't get done. So we can all say, yeah, we're gonna contact Gene and Ryan, but then we just never do. So I think that's really what her goal is. Now, I have a tendency to go through all of the laws when they come out, or the proposed laws, so I can certainly help guide you in that area, because I'm always curious to see what the guys and gals are doing up there, so.
And Christy Jacobson will send out an email you almost every day sometimes, and it'll, especially the ones that affect counties, and they'll have the green is support, yellow is neutral, and red is what the lobbying group for the counties oppose, and it's pretty interesting to see those. But I guess the things that are important to the counties, just like the citizens, reach out to your representatives and let them know. Okay, I believe that's all I have. So, anything else from anyone? All right. Done with that. All right, next item on the agenda, executive session due to personnel pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-1, and executive session pursuant to litigation according to South Dakota Codified Law, Section 1-25-2, subparagraph 3. Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're now in executive session. All right, entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're back into regular session. No action will be taken as a result of executive session. All right, items for next meeting. Do we have any items for next meeting?
The ambulance task force needs to be on there.
Ambulance task force, and okay, we should probably get an update on our strategic planning goals as well. Anything else, Don or Gary? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.